7 p.m. So
There's so many right now.
I will interrupt the social hour by calling the meeting to order.
We're gonna give you a timeout.
Oh, I bet.
So it's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everybody to the June meeting of the Union Township Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Quattrito.
Here.
Lapp.
Here.
Over.
Good evening.
Hayes.
Here.
Viking.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum, so we will proceed. Next item is approval of tonight's agenda. You have the agenda in front of you. There's only 2 new business items on it. Does anybody have anything else that needs to be on tonight's agenda or any issues with tonight's agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bicking, second by Bradshaw to approve the agenda as prepared. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the agenda is approved. Next item is approval of the minutes. We last met on May 19th, so you have the regular May 19th minutes. Everyone was present, so hopefully everybody had a chance to look over the minutes, see if they were accurate. They looked okay to me, but does anybody have any corrections or additions or anything to do with the May 19th minutes?
Move to approve the May Planning Board Commission meeting minutes.
Second?
Motion was by Hayes, second by Lapp to approve the May 19th minutes as submitted. Any discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next item is correspondence, board reports, presentations in the usual order, which means we go first to Commissioner Olver, updates from Board of Trustees.
Good evening, everyone. The trustees met twice since the last Planning Commission meeting, the 27th of May and the 10th of June. At the earlier meeting, there was approval and adoption of the Charter Township of Union investment policy, going through and reviewing that. And the board also considered and approved a resolution allowing participation in the Michigan Class Short-Term Investment Program, which is fairly common with townships. Also some policy governance review for compensation and benefits and the overall cost of governance for our policy governance system. The 10th, Clifford Martin Figg was reappointed to the EDA. There is still one opening on the EDA, so if you have any recommendations, please forward them on to the board. The big item for discussion on last week was a request to waive a fee for a replaced water meter. And that went quite a while, and ultimately the board approved the request to waive that fee due to extenuating circumstances of some renovations and miscommunications and things. As sometimes happens, what probably should have taken 4 minutes took about 2 hours. But it was resolved, and that's a good thing. So we also provided support for the Michigan Liquor Control Commission's on-premises tasting room and banquet facility for Heirloom Grove, and recognized MMI as a nonprofit so that they could pursue a charitable gaming license for their golf outing. So those were the developments of the last 2 board meetings.
Any questions from commissioners for Commissioner Olver on Board of Trustees related matters?
What was the fee? What was the amount of the fee?
$600. I tell you, Nathan, after about an hour of discussion, I was about to open my own checkbook. But it did lead to some good discussion from a policy standpoint in that The board would like to see some opportunities for the township manager to have a little bit more authority to resolve some of those issues. And Manager Stuhldreher did not feel it within his purview to do so under the current guidelines. So that's hopefully the kind of thing that could get resolved much quicker in the future.
Other questions? You mentioned that you all adopted an investment policy. Is it true that that calls for all township finances to be invested in Bitcoin?
No Bitcoin that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? All right, thank you for that report. Next item is Commissioner Thompson updates from ZBA. Did the ZBA meet?
Yes, we were busy. We did meet last Thursday. So we had one appeal for swimming pool installation at a house that had 2 front yards. Front yard, side yard, but 2 front yards because it was on a corner lot, and their backyard is a significant ditch here in the township. So we did approve it. So they met all the requirements and agreed to the one setback addition that we wanted to make sure they met. And then we elected officers. So Franklin McKenzie is our chair, Brian Clark is our vice chair, and I am the secretary. And that's it. I don't know when our next meeting will be. Stay tuned.
Congratulations on your election.
Questions for Commissioner Thompson on ZBA items?
I do have a question about the swimming pool since it's on my street. Were there any comments submitted for that?
No, not to my knowledge. There were some community members present, but no one did public comment.
Yeah, I was there to speak up
Oh,
for them
okay.
if they didn't get it right, and the person that came up just blew them out of the water. It's like, there's no reason to speak anymore.
I thought the variance was for the fence. Was it for both the fence and the pool?
No, the fence met all the.
It did, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because I was like, I don't.
I feel out of the loop on pool-related activities all of a sudden.
You can see it, they're already under work, under installation work right now up on McDonald Drive right there.
It's the fence, the big white
So I
fence
put it
that's
around
now
direction
around the
up
pool.
the McDonald Drive that way.
Keep my eye out.
Anything else on that? Okay, thank you for that. Community and Economic Development Monthly Report. You have the report in your packet. Always give commissioners an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have on anything you might have seen in the report. So that is open for questions right now.
Ronnie, can you give us anything about the Housing Forward group? Did you attend that? I found the community development. I was talking about this focus group session that was toward housing plans as well.
Yes, I did attend that.
What was it? What was like? Can you give me a brief of like what that was and what they're kind of looking to encourage with?
Housing Forward is a organization in Midland County that's obviously focused on housing in the county. They have taken on the additional task of managing our region, 8-county region, Region 5, our region's portion of the statewide housing plan. There's the state has focused, obviously, has a big focus on housing, need for additional housing, and they've developed a statewide housing plan. They're now working on version 2 of that plan. It's essentially a strategic plan to try to identify bottlenecks and resolve problems to expand new housing development across the state. And Housing Forward has become the lead agency for our 8-county region's version of that document. And this was a focus group that was basically asking for input from various entities, local governments, developers, folks on the low-income housing side, and others. And they had, I think, about a half dozen different focus group meetings. So I tended, actually attended the one for the development committee, because I couldn't be there for the one on local government earlier in the day. Found it very, very useful, very interesting comments. But that's what it's for. It's ultimately, those comments will be developed into an updated version of that housing plan for our region, that will then come back to, for additional public comment. So.
Was there a lot of comment on the need for low-income housing?
Yeah, there were several folks there. There was actually only really one person there that called himself kind of a market rate developer. All the developers were on the low-income housing side. So yes, there was a lot of discussion of that topic.
Thank you, Art, I appreciate it.
And a lot of support for it.
Other questions on the monthly report?
I have a question about page 4. Toward the bottom, the ordinance and code enforcement activities. Who mows the grass if people don't? When it keeps saying lawn will be mowed.
If the property owner doesn't take care of it, under our ordinance, we can have our contractor, we have a contractor that specifically contracted for that service, and we can have the contractor go on the property and do the mowing.
Do they just do that, or do they do our municipal stuff too? Like, is it the same contract that is for any municipal?
No, our public services department
Public
handles the
service
parks.
department, and this is a
Township
separate
Hall.
contractor for that.
Yeah, but we don't use township employees for that. We have, as I said, we have a contractor, they do the work, they bill us, cost of that bill goes on the taxes if it's not paid by the property owner.
So it does go back to the property owner to pay.
It does.
It
If
does,
they
okay.
don't pay it, it will end up on their tax bill.
Okay.
Does the contractor give you a better rate than your contractor might give, say, me?
Well, I don't know that actually.
I'm looking for a loophole. I got a lot of acres over there.
Well, I will say this, one thing to keep in mind is that the township weed ordinance does not apply where you are. It does not apply to certain properties over a certain acreage, and it doesn't apply in the rural areas of the township. This is really for the smaller, more urban areas and urban lots.
Yep,
What's the cutoff acreage?
back to mowing.
So, some of the exceptions is if you're ag zone property, it's within 60 feet of the dwelling, but all the way to the right of way. So you do have to go from your house all the way to the road, but outside of that, it's 60 feet within the dwelling. Another exception is if it's 3 acres or more and vacant.
Goats.
You also have kids.
True.
You got to teach them how to do it.
Other
We've got a
questions?
zero turn. Why teach kids how to do it? We can ride a zero turn. This is awesome.
Yeah. The Indian Hills Shopping Center, and this has been on here for months. How can we enforce that more to get them in compliance? Is there something that can be done?
Well, our goal is always to bring property back into compliance. It is, it's not to fine them, collect a bunch of fines or anything like that. We prefer not to take folks to court. We will, and we have, but we prefer to work with folks. Indian Hills has been out there a long time. They are literally down to one item on a much longer list that they used to have. And that one item is some lane striping, and some parking lot restriping. And for whatever reason, they were supposed to do it last year. They didn't get it done before it was too late. They have indicated they're going to do it this year, but we also are going to be meeting with them about some other projects. So they have other things that they want to do. And we're always happy to support that. And as if, for example, if it is something that ends up coming before you as a site plan, I mean, they do have some land available where they can do more than they have in terms of additional development. So if something's coming before you, you guarantee that we're going to be having this remaining item beyond the list that still needs to be taken care of, and get it resolved that way in the new site plan. So if there are some times when we are much pushier, and that generally involves things that are blight related or health and safety related. This is not either of this is neither of those things. And as I said, they have come 95% of the way from where they were. And this item really was caught by the weather, you might say.
Right.
They could have gotten it done, they didn't, but you know, they only have certain seasons where you can put the pavement straight again. So we just continue to work on them. There have been other items that have been on this list for a long time as well, for various reasons. It just wait as we continue to work with folks trying to get them resolved.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. Let's see. Any other reports or correspondence that any commissioners are aware of that need to come before us? Okay, if not, then we'll move on. So we have our first public comment for every planning commission meeting. We have a public comment towards the front end of the meeting, which is for items that are not on the agenda. So if anyone has a comment they'd like to offer on any topic that is not on tonight's agenda, they're invited to do so at this time. We ask you to, if you're in the room, come to the podium, give us your name and address for the minutes. If you're online, make your presence known, and we will recognize you to speak. So extended, or public comment on non-agenda items is open at 7:16.
Hi, my name's Mike Walters. I'm on 5272 Jonathan Lane in Country Squire Estates. I'm really making a comment about that I was denied a building permit for a small deck porch I wanted to put on the front of the house because they've changed the zoning for that area since that was developed, and I don't have enough frontage for that to put on what I would like to do. The original zoning was 25 foot from the right-of-way. Now it's been changed to 30, and that extra 5 feet. My house goes right up to the setback line, so I could encroach that by 10 feet with the old zoning, but now that only allows me 5 feet, and it's really not enough room for what I want to do, because my sidewalk is 8 feet away from the front of the house. And so what I wanted to do was walk up the sidewalk onto the porch into the house. And then eventually someday if I needed a handicap ramp, I could just extend it off that sidewalk. Well, under what the zoning is for my house right now, I cannot do that legally. So talking to the officials at Union Township, that I guess you might have been looking at this zoning issue on some of this. I just would like it, if you could consider maybe possibly looking at changing for that zoning for that area, possibly, because we do have a lot of small lots in that subdivision, and so there could be other people that have the same issue that I could have. They just haven't run into it yet. So that's really why I'm here today, to maybe get the ball rolling at looking at something, or if not, I might have to go for a variance, and so that's my other option. So that's why I'm coming here first, to just voice my opinion on that. Because actually my house right now, the way the zoning is, 15 feet or more than 50% of my house is out of compliance. Just the way the zoning is now for that area. So just to let you know, that is kind of a hindrance on the front and the back of my house, that I really can't do anything. So, you know, anyway, that's really what I wanted to bring up. So
Okay.
I guess that's it. If you have any questions or whatever, I guess.
Appreciate it. Just tell me again, your subdivision is.
Country Squire Estates.
Okay.
It's off from Isabella, close to Broadway,
Okay, I know what that.
from the credit union, yeah, kind of across from the credit union.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Any other public comments during public comment? Is our little electronic room empty tonight?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, we thank the public for their comments. We'll go ahead and look into that matter, and we'll go ahead and close the initial public comment at 7:20. There'll be an extended public comment towards the end of the meeting. So we have, as I mentioned, we have two new business items tonight. The first one is a minor site plan application P minor SPR 26-03. Applicant is Thrive Community Church, 1797 South Isabella Road. And we will follow our usual protocol. We'll hear from township staff, we'll hear from the applicant, and then we will deliberate and act.
Thank you. Everybody should have a copy of our report dated June the 8th. As was said, this is coming to you as a minor site plan, so this is being referred by the zoning administrator to you. In the report, the zoning administrator looked at the scope of what was proposed. He believed it was best handled through planning commission action and our ordinance. He has that option to refer things to you like before this. So that's how it comes to you. This is Thrive Community Church. It is a proposed alteration of their building. Essentially, it's a reduction of their building footprint, just a little under 9,000 square feet. I'll let them talk more about why they're proposing that. But that change, essentially, what they're looking at is wanting to have a reduced footprint now, with the option to build later, the rest of the building out. They are proposing to build, with the exception of some of the parking, build all the other site improvements out as shown on the original final site plan. The other item on their list was to essentially bank a portion of the parking. The original plan had 176 spaces. They're proposing now to build 133 of them and leave the remainder of that area that would be future parking, keep it available for parking, but for right now, just leave it as open space. The changes do require a site plan action. We asked them to go ahead and submit it as a minor site plan and ultimately bring it to you. As you see in your packet, you'll see essentially the top 4 sheets in the site plan set are the new sheets. Underneath that is the approved final site plan, all the remainder of the sheets. And that was done deliberately because we do want that original final site plan to remain valid, so that they have the opportunity in future to, when they're ready, to simply come in for a building permit to build out the rest of the building as proposed and to build out the rest of the parking as proposed in that original approved final site plan. So we have, as I said, the new sheets, 4 new sheets. We asked them to label them differently, so you see them there as sheet PH1 to sheet PH4. Overall, we found the amendments to be in good order. The number of parking spaces, even reduced to 133, still exceeds the minimum that's required for the size of the building. So that's still in compliance. The one item we note in our report, and that we're including as a recommended condition of approval, is that the area that was going to be parking lot on the east side of the building, that's now simply going to be open space. They note on the plan that would remain as is. Well, as is right now is essentially property that's been grubbed and cleared, but it's in pretty rough shape. All that land area that was originally supposed to be developed was cleared of vegetation and made ready for the development. Well, we're simply asking that they finish that off as lawn area with some kind of an appropriate ground cover. It doesn't have to be lawn. It needs to be some appropriate ground cover that meets our ordinance requirement, so that property looks has a good visual appearance until someday that parking lot is expanded. Someday I expect they were already intending to do, but it wasn't actually noted that way in the plan. So we just asked that be included as a condition of approval. It should be something very easy to meet. The other item is related to our public services department. There was some outstanding reviews going back and forth, related final details with that. We've asked to simply carry over the condition that you put on the original final site plan, that public safety approval be addressed prior to issuance of a building permit. And what I would say is, I actually expect that's probably now been done today, the last day or so. We have received some additional updates, but just to be sure that, as I'm certain that that's resolved, I'd like to leave that condition in there. Peter Galney will verify the condition's been met, and then we move on from there. Anyway, so we've essentially, at this point, we're recommending this plan to you. Pleased to recommend this plan to you for approval. We would ask that those 2 conditions be included. I will note, we did, as you've asked us to do, we did include a set of possible motions. I'm embarrassed to say that we have a typo in the motion to approve with conditions. So you have those 2 conditions there, but in the paragraph right above it, actually the second from the bottom line, that starts requirements for, and then it says preliminary. That word preliminary should say final. So if you had the direction of approving with conditions, just if you would change that to final. I looked at that 4 times, and so this 7. So with that in mind, I'm happy to answer questions as we go along.
Any immediate questions for Rodney while he's up there?
Rodney, I have one. The safety plan you want to include, is that based on the north-facing road entrance that kind of lines up with the curve of the street?
I'm sorry, say the beginning.
There's, you mentioned that there was an original safety plan for road plan. Was that based on around this guy here, that turn that we had coming up straight where it kind of came into?
Right. There was original discussion about where that driveway should be. Ultimately, that driveway, the decision about where their driveway is going to be located was a road commission decision. So that where it's located matches what the road commission approved of the permit.
But the safety plan you're saying that you wanted to still be submitted, was that based around signage for there? What was that? What is that you mentioned there? That's the second provision that you wanted included.
Well, there was in the original approval, or in the original review, there was some recommendations for signage. But let's make it clear that was a private driveway, not an extension of Butt Street. The original approved site plan has some notes related to providing for that.
Yeah.
Any other immediate questions? Okay, thank you. So now we'd like to hear from the applicant.
Good evening. My name's Tim Beebe. I'm with Central Michigan Surveying Development here on behalf of the applicant. My address is 2257 East Broomfield Road. Rodney alluded to discuss why the change. Budgets came in, and I worked on our church's building expansion program. And what we wanted to do versus what we could afford to do ended up being slightly different. The original budgets that were put together were on the low side. And they came in much higher than what was expected. And we had to work with the applicant to try and work that out. We have an individual here from Three Rivers who is the construction management company that actually worked through those budgets, bid the project out, and then was responsible to come back and try and downsize this. And that's what we had to do in order to get the project to go forward. Now, as far as what is being installed for water main, sanitary sewer, storm detention, that is all being put in based on the original plan. So reducing the parking lot, what that does is actually provides more detention in the detention pond. So we're not downsizing any of that utility service wise. We are not voiding out the idea of having that additional parking. The church actually hopes that they'll need that. But we're going to bank that for now if in fact they need it in the future, or even if the township sees a parking issue, I believe you have the right to say you must install. So with that, if you have any questions, it's basically the economics of the project.
Do you have a feel for what you'll do with that open area that the concern?
It's just gonna be a grassed area.
Okay,
When it says it's gonna stay natural, we're meaning it's gonna be ground cover. That area, we had left an area outside that original parking lot that was going to be a grassed area for the kids to go play in. All that's gonna happen is that area is gonna be larger.
Mr. Beebe, do you have any concerns about the conditions the township is recommending?
There were two conditions. One was that area be grass.
Yeah.
The other was the DPW. And the last letter that came from the DPW director, we had addressed all the items. She said she didn't have the letter from the fire department, which came in months, I don't know how long ago. I reached out to the fire department then emailed that letter to the DPW, to Peter, to Rodney, and to myself to verify that everyone had it. We have since reached out to the DPW department asking for a clean letter. We haven't received that yet, and maybe you did. Is that what you were alluding to?
No, you
Oh.
described where we are, so
Okay.
that's why I'm suggesting we keep the condition, understanding it will get resolved, that Peter can simply verify it's been resolved.
Yeah, because we need that letter in order to pull the building permits.
Yep.
So, once we have that, I believe everything's been satisfied.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else, guys, that was outstanding? I don't- Okay. All right, happy to answer any questions that you do have.
other questions from commissioners?
So you think based on your findings that rather than going a hard top in the back with the parking lot, the parking that's gonna be reduced, we'll see better drainage out from the back end coming in? I know we had a neighbor that was part of the group next door that expressed concern about drainage coming in, and I was wondering how that,
Yeah,
I
actually,
mean, from the size of the retention pond, it's not a concern to me, but I was just wondering how that change might come affected by.
to be quite honest, the concerns of additional water going into the neighbor to the north in the pond, actually by doing a development and with the stormwater restrictions that you have, it reduces the impact from natural drainage. Natural runoff is approximately 0.25 CFS per acre. The ordinance requires us to take it back to 0.1, 0.15. I get it confused between the city, I think it's 0.1 here and 0.15 in the city. But it's a reduction, and it's a reduction of almost half of what natural is. The other thing is that when you put those storm sewer systems in, and you put a detention pond, it soaks up that groundwater. So excess water going, I have no concern with. Not as much water. And, you know, the groundwater table, the whole idea with the underground detention systems and the open air detention systems and restricting the water back is to help recharge our groundwater system. If you just put it in a pipe and ship it off to the river, it's gone. And no longer do you have that recharge. So having the large detention pond, there's going to be less water going in there, but what you'll see is the bottom of that detention pond still takes the majority of that water. Infiltration will be basically the same, even though the top portion is not being filled. So it's got an added factor of safety until they put the additional parking in. That pond was not designed for 25-year storm. That pond was designed for a 100-year storm. So Speaking of which,
That was nice.
that was good timing.
It was.
Thank you, Laura.
Perfect timing.
Um,
Accentuated.
But that pond was over-designed because we, well, one, that's typically how I design, but two, we had the concerns from the neighbor to the north. The easiest way to squash those was to over-design. Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you also have to meet with an Eagle representative with the wetland area anyway? Did that help with the design of that?
We had to have a wetland delineation completed and have it accepted by Eagle. And that is that ragged boundary that you see along there that we actually have a wetland boundary, then we have a disturbance limit, which silt fence has to be installed along so that they can't get to that boundary.
Okay.
Great, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this thing is in front of us, and so we need to review, deliberate, and take action. So, any discussion from commissioners?
No concerns on my end. I think the conditions make sense.
Agreed.
So who wants to read?
I'll have to raise Tom this time again. I move to approve the PMIN ORS PR 26-03 minor site plan application to amend the final site plan approved on June 17th, 2025, to allow for initial construction of the new Thrive Community Church building and all site improvements on the northeast corner of South Isabella Road and Bud Street in the southwest quarter of Section 22, PID 14-012-30-009-00, and in the B7 Retail and Service Highway Business Zoning District, with a reduced building floor area of 17,646 square feet and a corresponding reduction in new off-street parking from 176 to 133 spaces. Finding that the amended plan can comply with the applicable zoning ordinance requirements for the final site plan approval, including sections 14.2.p required site plan information and 14.2.s standards for site plan approval, subject to the following conditions. 1, zoning administrator acceptance of updated site plan sheets with the additional details as requested by the Public Services Department prior to issuance of building permits. 2, all disturbed open areas on the site must be properly graded and planted with suitable ground cover plantings consistent with the applicable requirements of sections 10.2.a general site requirements and section 10.4 standards for landscape materials, subject to verification by the zoning administrator prior to issuance of a final certificate of occupancy.
Support.
Okay, so the motion was made by Lapp, is seconded by Bradshaw. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Lapp.
Support.
Quattrito.
Yes.
Over.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Bicky.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That is approved. So our second item tonight is an introduction and discussion of possible changes to the dimension standards for agricultural and residential zoning districts. Seems like it ties in nicely with our public comment earlier. So I'll let Rodney introduce this and then we will discuss.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate Mr. Walters for his introduction. He's the most recent person to come to us with this kind of a challenge. There's a note in the memo dated June the 8th, we mentioned this before. Peter and I kind of keep a running notes on the zoning. So we run into things, as some things come up, we just made notes of, maybe we want to look at this or bring something to you or look at making changes to the ordinance. Since the ordinance was adopted in 2020, we've had several, we would call punch list amendments that were exactly along those lines. Where in administering the ordinance, there was recognition that some adjustments were warranted. So this is along those lines. And as we know in the report, you've already experienced this with the business districts, where a while back it's not a few years ago, we came to you and recommended reducing the setback requirements for the business districts, front, side, and rear, to allow for buildings to be built closer to the road, and also to allow for these lots to be used more effectively, and create a little bit more pedestrian-friendly environment as well. So those changes were adopted for the business districts, and so we're essentially looking now at the residential districts. Mr. Walters did a good job of identifying some of the reasons for that. One of the challenges we have, as we note in the report, and this is directly in line with his comment about the Country Square Estates, under the old 1991 ordinance, we had what was called the R5 district. And it was kind of a special single-family residential district that was aimed at modular housing. So this is modular housing. If you think of the double wide, where they have two halves of the house, they bring them together. If they're factory built, they bring them together on a site. They put them together on a foundation, or if it's in a mobile home park, they put them together on a pad. But they're not stick-built house on site. They're houses that are built off-site and brought to a property. This district, this R5 district, was intended to support that kind of development. I expect that it was originally created for a specific project. Even it might have even been Country Square Estates, but because we have a couple of different neighborhoods that sort of fit this character, with Country Square Estates being a good example of it. Anyway, the R5 district and that idea of kind of aiming at modular housing is actually no longer consistent with established case law for residential development. We can't have a bias towards one type of construction over another. And although it wasn't intended to be a bias, it was actually intended to support, it still is essentially is a bias in the ordinance. And so the consultant that worked on the current zoning ordinance recommended that R5 district be removed. And it was removed, it's not part of our current ordinance. And the properties that were zoned R5 were rezoned to basically the nearest single-family district that matched it as close as possible, and that was the R2B district. But they, as noted in our report, the setback differences, the setbacks were looked for. Mr. Walters did a great job with that. The old R5 had a 25-foot front yard setback. The R2B has a deeper front yard setback, 30 feet. And again, a little while back, as one of those punch list amendments, we kind of did what you might think of as a Band-Aid. What we did was do exactly what Mr. Walters mentioned. We added to the ordinance an exception that said that an open deck or porch could intrude up to 10 feet into that front yard. So in his case, the front yard setback is 30 feet, so that an open deck or porch could extend as close as 20 feet to the road right-of-way. Well, as he noted, because his house is already at that 25-foot setback, the old R5 setback, he really only has 5 feet to work with there. In 5 feet, that's a porch, it's a stoop, but it's not a place where you can put a chair, you can't have an area to sit in. It's really just truly a stoop. You step up, you open the door, and walk in. And so to have something that's more of a front porch that's usable, it has to be deeper than 5 feet. So with that in mind, as in part helped along by our conversation with Mr. Walters, we propose to put together an outline of some changes to the setbacks. In addition to Mr. Walters' situation, I think one of the other reasons to look at this is that the current setbacks where basically prevents people from building additions onto property, onto existing homes. That also restricts the ability to modernize existing homes. We have a large majority of our existing single-family housing stock that's more than 50 years old. And as a result of that, it was designed for different household, different needs than we have today. So in addition, we frankly have an aging population. Sometimes we simply need to have some additional space for that, to help an aging population be able to remain in their home. Additions like new foyer or other things that create the ability to work with changing the ability of older citizens can be part of that too. But simply the ability to modernize these older homes sometimes will need additional space to do that. It might be another bathroom, it could be a variety of things. But having that some additional room on the lot where they can build within the setbacks or outside the setbacks is helpful. So that's the other reason to look at this. So you see on page the second page of our memo, page 55 of the packet, you'll see down at the bottom a table. And this table is right out of the ordinance, section 4 of the ordinance. And it's called Schedule of Regulations. I think of the dimensional standards table. It shows all the setbacks, front, side, and rear, minimum lot area, minimum lot width, in one case minimum lot depth, and some other standards as well that we'll talk about. Where we're recommending changes, you'll see those there with the existing standard lined out in red, the new standard underlined in blue. In general, for the setbacks, which is kind of the middle columns of the table, we're proposing to reduce those setbacks. Not every district, not every circumstance, but in most of them, bring that down a little bit. We're also proposing over the left-hand side some adjustments to the lot area, minimum lot area requirements, and also minimum lot width requirements. And these are essentially consistent with pattern development. For example, the R2A district has a 100-foot lot width, but for single-family homes, 100 feet is actually, especially if we've reduced the setbacks, 100 feet is more than needed to have a functional single-family home in this district. And so we're recommending bringing that down to 70. That 70 would still allow, for example, for a side entry garage. So it's a suburban lot is really what we're looking at here. And we're reducing this in the same way the lot area, which is currently shown as 14,000 square feet. We're recommending taking it down to 8,400, which is again pretty much a standard suburban lot on a property that could have a little bit larger home with potentially with a side entry garage, which needs a little more space for the driveway. So that it's that kind of a change where we're just looking at the practicality of something. So we don't need to require as large an acreage as we are. You'll see a new column there that's maximum number of dwelling units per acre. Right now, that minimum lot area essentially it sets the density, the number of units per acre is based on that minimum lot area. What we're proposing to do is bring that minimum lot area down, but actually not alter the density standard significantly. This is one that we're still working on a little bit. We've given you some numbers there. We're still working on that, looking at exactly what those numbers should be. They might go up a little bit from where they are. The reason we're adding this is because of our sewer system. All of our residential areas that are in the sewer districts, the sewer system was designed for our existing zoning. So the existing density, the existing development pattern that our zoning ordinance would allow for. And so we don't begin a circumstance where by reducing the lot area, we are greatly increasing the number of homes beyond what the sewer system was designed for. We have a little wiggle room in there. We can move a little, but we do need to be careful. So adding the standard of dwelling units per acre, maximum dwelling units per acre, we help to keep that number in line with what the sewer system was designed for that area. while allowing individual lots to be a little smaller, to make a little more efficient use of the lot itself. What that also does is creates new opportunities for open space in a development. A couple other things. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see that we've deleted the minimum building width, and that's only because that's actually in conflict with another section of the ordinance. Since this ordinance was adopted, our zoning administrator has been he made an interpretation of the ordinance because this conflicts with section 6.16, which has a different standard in it, and he has applied that standard because it applies to all types of single-family homes. So we're simply deleting the column here. It's not needed because it's covered elsewhere in the ordinance. I believe that kind of hits on the main items. As I said, this is intended just to introduce this topic. If you're comfortable with the direction we're heading and supportive of the direction we're heading, we're happy to come back to you with a formal amendment to consider. But we're also pleased to hear your thoughts on where we're aiming at with this.
Okay, it's open for discussion. This, of course, being a zoning amendment, would go through a public hearing.
That is
so,
correct.
is your thinking in general that the next step would be bring us a draft of actual language, and then we set a date for a public hearing?
Yes, that is correct. Because there would be some other changes that would go around this. This is kind of core of it, but there would be some other tweaks that would fall, that would come up as part of this, making this change. So we would definitely want to give you the whole provision, the whole proposal to take a look at before we take that for a hearing.
Comments, thoughts from people?
How long then before Mr. Walters can build his porch?
Well, Mr. Walters can build his 5-foot porch right now.
Sure.
I will say that here's something, and we've shared this with Mr. Walters. There's an interesting quirk for handicap ramps, handicap barrier-free access. That can be anywhere, as long as it's on this property. Don't put it in the road right of way. Don't put it on your neighbor's property. But it can be anywhere on the lot that it needs to be, because it really has to be. It depends on the topography. They might need to cover the whole front yard with ramps to get down to the ground at the very low slopes they have to work with. So what we suggested to Mr. Walters was that he propose a 5-foot open deck, which the ordinance would allow for, and then propose essentially the rest as the handicap access ramp. And that handicap access ramp would, of course, need a landing. So part of that and again, how much is up to him, that's his design. How much of that landing, how wide that landing needs to be would be up to him. It might be the same width as his porch. And then it would have the ramp that would come off, and we would call that the handicap access ramp and move on. So he is considering all of his options. He could just build the 5-foot porch and put some steps on it, because he doesn't need the ramp right now, apparently, but it's a future item. Or he could wait for this change. We have let him know that this, no matter what, this is several months to pursue. So it'd be something that, if he waits, it's going to be next season before he can build it.
Thank you.
It's ideas like that where everybody says you're so easy to work with, Ron.
Yeah.
I got a question. When seeing this, and it's always a hit for me, is like, we need more housing, we need more development. It's what every report we get says coming in. Now, seeing reduce lot sizes without increase to density, what are we going to see coming out of this more? We're going to see longer term people wanting to stay in their house because they're able to do more repairs or update it? Are we going to be able to see more units being built because of the reduction of this?
Well, the setback.
Like, I mean, like, are there a lot of, like, obviously it's based around septic and how much density we can handle, but are there like lots out there currently that aren't getting developed because of these type of restrictions, or that we'd see getting developed because of these changes?
Well, number one, with the setbacks, we're going to see how, as I said, there's more opportunity to modernize houses, maybe to add a bedroom, whatever it might be.
People want to
Uh,
stay, people don't need
yeah.
to like.
I mean, we already have a number of other pieces of the puzzle that are in the ordinance, for example, the short-term rental type housing, the Airbnb type thing, or the mother-in-law suite type thing. That's in the ordinance. It right now requires a special use permit from the plan commission, but you can have a second dwelling on the property as long as you meet the requirements. So that adds something there. The main thing with this step right now is we do need to respect our sewer system and what it was designed to deal with. As we're working on the master plan, that's where we're going to be looking a little more broadly, because of course the sewer system can be expanded over time, but that's when we're at the scale of a master plan time, not the zoning ordinance where as soon as we adopt this it becomes effective. So we will be exploring this more in the master plan, and I suspect that out of the master plan process, and whatever is adopted in the end, that may inspire other changes to the ordinance. But for right now, we didn't want to get in a situation where we were greatly increasing the number of units per acre simply by making it easier to develop by reducing the lot size. We'll try to keep some balance there. As I said, my suspicion is these numbers are going to be a little higher than they are, just because they're, I mean, for example, we show the R2A, which is one family or two family district, so it does allow duplexes. And the 14,000 square feet is a number that basically results in 3 units an acre. It's a hair over 3 units an acre. But for two family housing, that's, how do you do a 1.5 duplex unit? So we're probably going to increase the number just because we need to make it clear that yes, you can build 2 duplexes, 4 units. We have a divide by detail. So in the final version, we'll have those tweaks done. But the intent is not to greatly increase the density. Right now, it's at the master plan timescale, we'd absolutely be looking at that, and then we can plan for in our sewer system those kinds of expansions.
Great, thank you, Randy. I appreciate it.
Can you tell me the difference between a R2A and R2B, roughly?
Which essentially, I think he was predominantly the lot size and setbacks, right? I think the land uses are virtually the same between the two. So it's just one is a larger lot size, larger setbacks than the other.
So why wouldn't you combine them in a way and have just the minimums be the same across both of them?
Well, it's certainly something to look at. Right now we have developments that were designed for these districts.
Right.
So it's something we just have to look at carefully. As we just talked about, we had the R5. We went as close as we could in terms of rezoning it, but we still have some things to tweak.
I thought get some clarification off of what he's asking. I thought that the difference between the two was one was for multifamily dwellings, like say an apartment versus a home.
Well, the R3 is a district that gets into the multifamily side.
Okay.
The R2 is, and the R2A and the R2B do allow duplexes. They both allow single family and duplexes. And so you see a lot of areas in our community where there's a mix of the two in the same neighborhood. And that's great. That's really actually very helpful. But essentially, one thing to keep in mind, as I said, was the community was planned in a certain way. It was planned, often residential areas are planned more urban, closer to town, you might say, less urban as you go out and get to rural, so sort of a gradation. And that's what the zoning districts were designed to do, was to have that sort of gradation.
Thanks.
Yeah. And the only other question, so moved here from Houston and my house was literally 8,400, or the lot size was, and it felt like there was no room for a yard or anything at all, and I could reach out and touch my neighbor. Is that why you have the maximum lot coverage to be where it's at, so you have that room to have a yard for kids and such?
Yeah, there's some, I've seen the same thing in Canada where similar sized lot, but the house was allowed to be built 5 feet from the property line or 3 feet from the property.
Yeah.
And, it feels like you're standing in your neighbor's living room.
Yeah, especially once they started building like the giant monstrosities where they were like literally right up on sitting on the property line.
Now that does, you'll see that a little bit in here, because the side yard setback, in some of them, we're proposing to reduce. We have right now, the R2B district, the side yard setback is 6 feet. So it's the same on both sides. The houses could be as close as 12 feet apart. That's more than the minimum. The building code, fire code, would say 10 feet apart minimum, based on certain requirements for fire safety. But anyway, so still 6 feet from the property line is pretty close. And we're proposing to expand that. You'll see where we're proposing to take the R2A down to that same 6 foot side yard. That's again to allow for space to be able to do things. It might be an addition. It might be a variety of things that might, to get a little more room for that kind of thing. So it would get closer to what you experienced in Texas, but not quite. As I said, some of those are really close.
So, first of all, I think this is a good idea, and so I would say, yes, proceed.
Please.
And bring us the updated, the next step in the process. I'm just looking at the top end, the R1, and thinking about that. And if someone wanted to develop a more a high end or upscale development, could they do it as a PUD and set their own parameters if they wanted larger separations and not to be bound by this?
Well, remember, these are minimum. They can always do more. They can always have a bigger lot. These are minimum standards, the minimum setback.
But the setbacks.
But let's say R1, 35, this is proposed to be a 35-foot front yard. Somebody they can build their house 100 feet back from the lot, or 200 feet back. They just can't get closer than.
But once you're in your home, what this would say is you can add to it all the way out to, as long as you leave 35 feet rather than 50 feet, and you can go 30 feet, 15 feet. I said it's only 1.5 feet that they've changed, but 15 feet closer. No, actually, you haven't changed that R1 for that. Yeah. But so anyway, I guess all I'm just wondering off the top of my head is if you wanted a development where there was a lot of breathing room, more breathing room than this, are there ways of doing that where it would be people in there would be bound to that as opposed to this?
So
Talking like an HOA almost?
So,
Because then it would be like.
Well,
talking
you think about developments like condominium developments having their own rules, their own covenants, and all this sort of thing. And I know the PUD would be a separate zone, and it could have its own. I'm assuming. So
there's a yes. The answer is yes. First of all, there's a number of ways they could get at that. They could get at it through the PUD if that was needed, but it really isn't needed because you can also get at it through deed restrictions. So, I mean, for example, the Union Commons shopping center, where Walmart and Menards and all that is located, there is what amounts to a private zoning ordinance. Is a set of deed restrictions and easements and covenants that are on all those lots over there. And it caused some trouble when they wanted to build a Valvoline site, because we kept pushing them to move that building closer to the road, and there's a huge easement that runs through that front of their property that prohibited them from doing that because the folks, the developer, didn't want anybody to build this, seeing that Union Commons sign at Encore Boulevard that looms over everything, and so it forced the building back further than it needed to be. Anyway, but that's, and there's a whole bunch of restrictions in that they have to follow that go well beyond what our zoning ordinance says. The same thing could happen with the private subdivision. That they can say, no matter what, you can't be closer than X number of feet to a property line.
Okay. To follow up on something that Robert was talking about in this business of going from, say, 14,000 to 8,400 or whatever it might be. There was, I can't remember when it happened, but there was something where we were looking at the master plan, might have been the previous revision, of if you have an amount of property that you want to develop, do you space out the buildings very equally across that, or do you put them all as close as possible and then have this open space that would be a mutual thing for everybody to enjoy, that type of thing? And I can see advantages to that, but I also know that, I don't know, for me, being in your house and sitting and looking out your window, it's nice to be able to see a little space as opposed to seeing just the next building. You know?
So there's, yes, that's actually a provision in the State Zoning Act, open space preservation options, language like that. It's in our ordinance, because it's in the State Act, we need to deal with it. That allows essentially a developer to cut the lot area in half, more or less, with the idea of preserving that 50% of land area that they're now not using anymore as open space. The numbers don't always work out exactly 50-50, but that's the idea, is squeeze down on smaller lots, preserve the open space. It can work. It can be challenging in certain areas with well and septic on smaller lots. But if you have sewer, it's fairly easy. It's an interesting, it's about the market. There are some folks like you that want room, they want space around. There are other folks that want neighbors around, and want to be close, and that's okay. Both are completely valid ways to live, and we want to have, frankly, options for all of them in the community. And so, if somebody wanted to do that today, we'd be happy to work with them on it and do that. This is really just intended to try to make a more efficient use of the land, because especially when we reduce the setbacks, we don't need the land area as these were originally written, because part of that land area is now no longer a setback requirement. So it's just for making that adjustment accordingly.
And lowering all of these minimums makes it a lot easier to have much smaller housing, like that starter home that people talk about. It kind of disappeared. So,
Other
Yeah, that
comments?
just-
I like it too.
I like to see Rodney come back with more
Yeah.
recommendations for us too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we'll do. So you can expect to see something. May have something for your next meeting, but certainly come back to you pretty quickly. And we'll go from there. Thanks.
Sounds good, thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, so as the rain continues to fall outside, we'll move on. We have now extended public comment. So this is the portion of the meeting where individuals are invited to address the planning commission on any item, whether it was on tonight's agenda or not. If you're in the room, come to the podium, identify yourself, limit your comments to 5 minutes on any issue. If you are listening online, make your presence known and we will recognize you to speak. Extended public comment is open at 8:08.
Saw me sitting in the stand, and probably thought there had to be a reason. I stayed to listen to what Rodney had to say, and coming from the development side, I appreciate what he's doing. Benefits are clustered housing, less cost on the development side. Open space areas, you just have to be careful with those, because I've done a lot of replats where there were park areas that ringed around and nobody took care of the park. So be cautious about that, but I like the idea that you're pushing towards clustered housing and innovative developments. That I think is a great thing. So all for the direction that you're headed. The main reason I stayed was, if you're gonna look at some of this stuff, there are a couple things that I'd like you to look at also. Under the R1 and the Ag District, if you look at accessory structures, how much land do you have?
25.
25 acres? I have 5 acres. You know how big of a whole building I can build? 3,600 square feet. Do you know how much you can?
3,600 square feet.
Exactly. if you own, and there's a bracket in there, I forgot if it's 3 acres, 5 acres, up to 10 acres. But there's a bracket in there that, if you fall into, no matter how big your lot is, as big of a pole building or an accessory structure, or a combination of accessory structures, you can only go up to 3,600 square feet. So if I own 100 acres in ag district, but I'm not a farmer, because if you're a farmer,
Do whatever you want. Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, good luck trying to stop it. But if I'm not a farmer and it's an ag district, I have kind of a ridiculous limit. So I'd appreciate you looking at that. Most communities have it based on a percentage of the total land area. Neighboring township, Chippewa Township, you can build up to 3% of your total square foot area. And it, however much you want to build. But the other thing that kicks in is when you decide to build that 3,600 square foot building, I hope you didn't want to build a 60 by 60, because you're going to have to build a flat roof on it.
What?
Yes.
That's insane.
Okay, look at the ordinance. How your height is defined is the sidewall to the peak, it's the average. The problem when you start getting wider buildings is that peak has to continue to go up and up and up and up and up. Okay, well, I can balance that out if I lower the sidewalls. Oh, wait a minute, I need to get my fifth wheel in there, and I need a 12-foot door. Or maybe I need a 14-foot door because I've got a monster. And to say you got 35 acres or 25 acres and you can't build a structure that allows you to put your fifth wheel in. So take a moment, take a look at those accessory structures. If you're going to make a modification, this is a wonderful time to maybe consider it. And if you need some examples, happy to give them to you.
So the table he's talking about, section 7.5 is accessory structures. And the table is subsection C and 3. It's on page 7-3 in the zoning ordinance. I don't disagree with his comments. The accessory structure section and the sign ordinance section are usually the most amended sections of any zoning ordinance, because it's constantly a moving target to try to get all the possible variations dealt with. This table was actually developed to try to resolve problems in the old ordinance. So we tried to create a table that got there, and what essentially Tim is hitting on is the top end of the scale on the table, saying that we need more steps essentially, or we need more flexibility at the higher end of it. If there's interest, we can certainly look at that and bring something back to you. I will say I've not seen a 60 by 60 building built as a non-agricultural building. I've seen them built as a farm building, but not as a non-agricultural building because they're not that practical.
You've got a hard time building a 40-foot wide.
Actually, I was going to say 40 foot is about the maximum in terms of width. The length, it can be whatever length you want, but 40 foot in width is in 10 or 12 foot walls. Don't quote me on the numbers, but that will get you the 16 foot maximum average height. If you go over that, I think you're going to be too tall. Anyway, we certainly look at it. We can certainly look at amending the table if there's interest in us pursuing it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like you to at least think about whether it makes sense to try to tackle something like this at this juncture while we're doing this other thing.
Change that top end to percentage sounds reasonable.
Yeah, there are a number of ways to work with it. I found, I appreciate his comment about percentage, and it can be helpful sometimes. That also can go awry when you get at the extreme ends of the scale. So it's something we just need to look at.
Yeah. Public comment's still open, so.
For the variance issues or the setback issues with houses, you've had people coming in and asking these questions. Have you had people coming in and asking on some of these, in these other areas about height and?
Yeah, that the current section 7.5 reflects that. It's been amended twice, I think, since this ordinance was adopted.
So there are questions about that
So
as well? Okay.
as I said, this is probably the most amended section of any zoning ordinance. There's always issues, and so I'm not surprised that this has come up. And we've, Peter, if you want any comments on that, I know that you've had, it's a regular thing.
Yeah, no, I've had, just similar to the discussion on residential setbacks, accessory structures, even going back to the previous 1991 ordinance, it has been an ongoing thing, and so I don't think it's a discussion that even when we think we have it, that the discussion is actually done.
Thank you.
My only parting comment is if you need a 12-foot door, you gotta have a 14-foot sidewalk. If you need a 10-foot door, you gotta have your 12-foot sidewalk. So, one of the ones that I've run into was trying to build 40-foot wide, the length that he wanted. He could get under the square footage. It was dealing with the sidewall height and then the peak, and had to change the design of the structure in order to do that, but when you do that, the cost of the structure goes through the roof. So, that's the only reason I brought it up. I've had people coming in and asking me how to get buildings through, and when I explain the rules to them, they are in shock. What do you mean? I own 30 acres. What do you mean I can't build? Well, that's what the rules say. So, it was just an opportunity for me to put the plug in. If you're going to open up those districts to look at, might be a good time to do it. And I really like the direction that Ronnie is taking this. I think it's going to push developers to do more clustered, more innovative developments. But just be careful with private homes.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we thank the public for their comments. Go ahead and close extended public comment at 8:17. Next item is final board comment. Any comments from board members?
Would just note that we do have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and the Board of Trustees is looking for a candidate, or several candidates to consider for the Planning Commission. And then just an observation, I was noting the date, and it's 6/16/26. How about that? 6/16/26. I haven't had this much fun since May 15th of last year.
So you're having a lot of fun on 7/17/27.
We'll celebrate.
Could you imagine what it would be like, you have kids, if
Lots of them.
people that are going to be around, well, actually, probably, it won't be a thing then, but if you imagined that today, if there was a year that had like 67,
Oh.
I think
Oh,
I think it'd be a long year.
Very-
It was very long 10 days ago.
Oh, June 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Very long.
I just like a long.
So those were some apropos final board comments. Any others? Okay, then we've completed our agenda for June. We stand in adjournment until our July meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.